Fullerton, and I'm one of the oncology nurse navigators from St. Jude. I work with our GI oncology patients. Please help me in welcoming Dr. Sharon Chappell.
This is, in some ways, an unusual audience for me. I'm used to talking to teachers, and I struggled a lot with what makes me worthy of being with all of you who are the experts who saved my life when I went through breast cancer treatment, and the nurses that were with me. And what people kept reminding me was that I'm an expert on my own healing, and I'm an expert on what happened to me and what happened to my family because of my cancer. And the more I thought about what I wanted to talk about today, I realized that not only am I an expert on my cancer, but I'm also an expert on being a child of cancer. My father had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma when I was 7. It was near his heart. It was irradiated. He had a heart transplant at 2000, was on anti-rejection drugs for 20 years, and died of brain cancer 3 days after my breast cancer diagnosis. And I watched and he took care of my dad for 14 months before he passed when I was diagnosed with cancer. In fact, I couldn't go to see him the last time because I had just had my needle biopsy on my right breast 3 days before I was supposed to go up. So he died the day I was supposed to go up on the plane to see him for the last time. So I realized that although I can't tell you anything technical, what I can give you is my heart, and what I can give you is my experience as an artist and as a teacher working with children. And in my work with children, I've primarily focused on the wellness of a school community as a result of trying to understand the difficult things that people go through, whether it's racism, whether it's transphobia, whether it's school violence or bullying, whether it's family illness. Those are the types of topics that I've taken on, and I think that's a result of what's happened in my life. And the more that I've reflected on the impact of my dad's cancer as a result of my own cancer, I realized that that's why my trajectory has brought me to this point. So I thank you so much for having me, because it's a real shift for me. Health and wellness is now the commitment of my life. So I want to share the ways in which the arts, imagination, and creativity facilitated my healing and saved me emotionally during my cancer. I've structured my talk through a series of poems that I wrote during breast cancer. I've always written poetry, and I found that as I was going through the rigorous emotional roller coaster that I was on as a parent, as an adult child of cancer, as in my own cancer, in a struggling marriage with a dad who just died, it was like the poetry was what saved me, in addition to listening to music and making art and movement, a lot of walking. And so I wanted to share some of the strategies that I've used in hopes that you might want to bring these back to your patients in different settings, whether it's making suggestions of things they can do when they go home, or whether it's even in the infusion center. I found that in my infusion center, I was doing yoga to prep for every infusion that I did. I went, I signed in, I got my bracelet, and everybody's sitting on the couches, and I'm over doing my deep breathing, getting ready. I was like taking warrior selfies. I was like trying to. I didn't have this hair yet, but I was like, I had my hair, this color hair inside, because I had lost it by that point. But I find that the infusion setting itself can be a very sterile, sad environment. As much as the energy of the nurses brought life to that place, it really could have used a makeover, a DIY, having paint nearby, having crayons and markers nearby, having coloring books, having whatever you can think of. My very favorite thing was the jelly bean dispenser, because jelly bean dispensers are a little expensive. They're like $60, right? So I don't have a jelly bean dispenser at home, but every week I got to go, and while I had my pole, my roly-poly, I would walk over to the jelly bean dispenser, and like, nobody else ate the jelly beans. I was thinking I could put my hand under there like 10 times because nobody was eating the jelly beans, right? So I got them for my daughter, I brought them home. We started like sorting and ranking the flavors. Like, it was fantastic. And that was what brought joy to that space for me. And so I'd love for you to think about how you can break outside the box of your relationship with patients and know that we're all seeking those ways of finding happiness in the middle of this difficult time. And that's kind of the theme. It's the theme of The Little Green Monster, finding joy in difficult times, being able to experience the range of emotions. It's okay if you feel terrible, but it's also great if you're enjoying yourself too. And it kind of surprises people when you're in the middle of cancer and it's scary and you're thinking about dying, and at the same time you're like having a great day. Well, how can that be? So I really struggled with that, and I hope to reflect some of that in what we do today. So to get us started, if you could, on one of your pieces of paper, write down everything and draw things that you think of related to the word healing. And I'd like you to do this quietly and reflectively rather than talking at this point. We'll have some talk times in a little bit, but for now I'd just like you to think and listen as I read some of my poems, and then we'll talk about what you have thought about with healing. And you might even pull some words or images based on what I say as well. So here are my first few poems. I have come and gone, a body standing, thick and strong. Now dashed and fallen, I am gone. Please come, a body standing, once thick and strong. I thought a lot about what makes us strong, how everyday love, community, and creativity can help while science does its work. And these are questions we grapple with each day in the field of nursing. My daughter fell when she was 3. Her skin wrinkled and pulled, each footstep ached, so she lay with me, pointing at the birds and trees, their flitting and chirping, a distraction from her wound. Carry me. My dad had lymphoma when I was 7. His body felt everything. I tucked into a ball and listened to his retching. They marked his chest with purple lines. Hair fell to the floor, skin hung on bones. Maybe it was something I did when I lost his watch, or I lied about using the radio, or I cried too much or too loud as they argued. Maybe if I hid in the darkness, it would go away. Hold me. In cancer, the body battles, my dad's many times. With the vision of a child, I saw what the world saw, bald head, frail walk, whispers and stares at the convenience store. I tucked our photos under my pillow to hide the swelling of his illness. Notice me. I stretch weak arms around my daughter's shivering shoulders. Will you die, Mommy? Now I am bald and frail like my dad, but not like him. I smile into her eyes. I carry her, hold her, notice her. They are treating to cure, my love, and we are strong. So I'd like to take a moment for you to share what you've done so far on your about the word healing. If you could talk to each other at your tables for just a minute, maybe just the person next to you, about what you've done so far. All right, let's come back together, and we're going to shift gears now and start to explore the watercolor. And we'll do watercolor. You can, at this point, whenever you draw, you can also add watercolor to it. One of the things we talk about with teachers is you have to let the students, the kids, play with the manipulatives first before you use them for math, for example, or for science, because, oh my gosh, it's just so cool. We're using a syringe like this. Wow, look at this. Oh, here you need a brush. Here we go. And what does it do? Oh, look, my brush is still stiff. Oh, look, my brush does this. So that's part of our natural need to communicate and explore, and we're curious and we want to play, and that's part of it. So if you use the arts with your patients or families, and I highly encourage you to use them with adults, not just kids, or in addition to children, give them that playtime, because that playtime is so important, so crucial to before prompting. What I'd like you to do when you're using the watercolor, probably unlike what you did with healing, is with the watercolor, I'd like you to have the intention of not making it realistic. So I would like you to explore color and movement and shape, and think about maybe the emotions that are attached to different colors, the emotions that are attached to different shapes, the movement, how the movement feels. Because sometimes what happens is when we make something realistic, then we get caught up in, oh my God, it doesn't look like a sunflower. What am I going to do? And then our you can feel your body tense up, you can feel yourself getting nervous that it's not meeting your expectations, and so then that's not going to get us to the place we want to be. So we want this to kind of loosen us up, and we want it to let our body flow, and we want to have things move through. And so we're not going to use realism for this. And I'll read you some poems while you paint. The shower runs over my body, water falling over 5 tattooed wounds where the biopsy needles punctured me. Droplets wash away my fears, leave me with blame. Was it the aluminum in my teenage deodorant, exposure to childhood yelling and belittling, the worry for my baby while breastfeeding on antidepressants, fear for my family's stability, all the non-organic foods, teenage cases of Diet Coke, the madness of an unjust world, blaming myself for all of it. What did I take in? What caused these cells to grow? My body shivers under the warm water. I try to wash the blame away. What good does it do now? The water falls over my breast and its hidden cancer, tempting me to fall apart. I watch droplets run along the curves of my body and breathe again. I've given this body too many brutal words, but cancer is teaching me how to look at bruising and stitches and numbness, at armpit hair and my side profile, the slope of my breast, its lumps and holes. I used to hate it all, wishing I could look different or be someone else. I've given this body too many brutal words. Cancer is teaching me to love. My scars, bony hands, the toothy smile, my curls gone wild in the hospital bed, but I'm scared. This body is weak. I wash myself without looking, running the water over steri strips while the nausea hits in waves, and a walk up the street feels like days. I hug myself through tears that stain the couch. I caress gently, holding on and telling myself, your body has what it needs to get through this. You're worth the wait. I give my body these words instead. So one of the things I really like doing, this might be something you can do with your patients, is I created artist cards that I could trade with other people, and hand-lettered images of empowering words. And I gave these to each person who helped me, who drove me to a chemo session or who brought me a meal. And I started putting them up all around the house just to fill myself with this positivity so that I could get through the hard stuff. And so I decided, I've dealt with body dysphoria my whole life, and I've used exercise bulimia in order to not take in as many calories. I've used very, very strict eating rules in order to not to control calories. And it wasn't until cancer that I realized how important the body that I had was. And it was cancer that helped me beat anxiety. And it was cancer that taught me to love myself. It wasn't cancer itself, it was me. But it was me going through it that made me realize I had the body I needed. Because that was the body that walked down that hall to the infusion center, and that was the body that would walk for 45 minutes when I felt good enough to in the neighborhood. And that was the body that made this art. And that was the body that took in the nourishment to be able to take care of my daughter while I had cancer. I had that body, and I didn't even know I did. And it took cancer in order to get there. So these processes, when you use these with patients, we really have no idea what the echo, what the reverberation will be with them one day when they realize something about themselves because they have an artistic tool to use when they're going through what they're going through. So I'd like to take a moment for you to share your watercolors at your table. What tools did you use, and what feelings did you have when you were painting? So go ahead and take a minute to do that. So one of the pieces that I noticed in the drawings that you created about healing is the importance of compassion, being able to see people, notice what they're going through, respond with care and unconditional regard for their experience. And it certainly is what helped me through my own cancer, all of the nurses that took care of me and understood the pain that I was going through when my port was infected, and then we had to do wound packing and have daily changes. And that first cotton change felt like I was giving birth, and I am so thankful for the nurse who took me through that, who sat there, or who was with me, and as she's pulling the cotton out to put the next cotton in, and I am breathing like there is a child coming out of me, she is breathing with me and she's reassuring me, and it was her compassion that helped me get through that moment. We're going to be doing something called a feeling wheel now. So if you could take out a piece of paper and draw a big circle on it. This is a little sample of one from a kiddo. I just wanted to cut it so it would fit in that beautiful little yellow kind of watercolor circle there. But it's an actual circle. And then if you could divide it into pie-shaped pieces, so you can do 8 slices or 6 slices. And this is something that you can do to help people with identifying a range of feelings. In the back of the Little Green Monster book, there's this beautiful chart of different monster expressions with emotions attached to them, and a wide range. And so what I'd like you to do as I'm reading some poems is to write different feeling words in each slice and try to get a range of feelings. So in addition to the more negative things that happen, one of the things I noticed is the way that positive reframing helped me during cancer. So when I had the AC infusion, I had heard on a breast cancer support group that they called it the Red Devil. Well, right? That was not working for me. First of all, I unjoined that support group because I just couldn't take it. And they're fine and they're great people and they're all trying to get through, but I needed something a little more negative, a little more positive. And I didn't need it more negative. So I was like, Red Devil, that's not for me. So I needed to reframe that. So we need, yes, it is terrifying, and I'm owning that. And you know, it does, for some people, feel really hard on their veins when it goes in. And so there are those negative feelings, and we do need to be able to speak those. And at the same time, there's something that happens when you reframe and you think about other ways of thinking about a situation. So when I went in, I said, that red medicine is going to be everything fantastic. It's going to be gummy bears, it's going to be red jello, it's going to be fruit punch, it's going to be red paint that I can paint hearts with. Like I had a whole host of 10 things, and I had already written it down, and I said, and as it goes in, I'm just going to repeat those words over and over and over again until the push was done. And I don't know, maybe it was just all in my mind, but it didn't really hurt my vein. And so I'm thankful for that, and I appreciate that other people have a different experience, but I do believe that that reframing helped me. So having that range of feelings on your feeling wheel is important, and then that helps us, allows us to embrace all of those feelings. So if you could work on your feeling wheel, putting in words and images that you attach to the feelings. You won't be able to finish it today, but you'll have a reminder, a trace of what a feeling wheel could look like. Trembling hands, I am afraid. Smiling eyes, I am brave. Spilling tears, I am angry. Breathing belly, I am hopeful. There's room for all of it. I walk around doing the day-to-day, the dishes, the laundry, so normal, carrying cancer with me. I want to hide under a blanket, relinquish my bravery, give in to sadness. I want to run miles, insistent on hope. I want to tell everyone how many emotions I'm carrying. I want to be silent and not tell a soul. There's room for all of it. This is another feeling one that I wrote while kayaking with my daughter during one of the good days during chemo. Gliding my paddle through the choppy waters, egrets and pelicans beside me, dipping into their delicacies, I spot a balloon marooned in the estuary's thick mud, its turquoise foil shining in the sun, a remnant of some child's birthday. We moor the kayak and squish through the mud's slick surface, the earth covering my feet. The slime bathes me, and I am connected. The cancer is a small stone inside, its infiltration temporary, like the foil balloon. Cancer is nothing. I breathe the salty air and become the bird's wingspan. The earth's blanket of waters, the wind and reeds and hair, I am extended. We will not suffocate. We glide through choppy waters, life's arms stretch around me, and I am connected. Cancer is nothing. We are whole. I was really impacted by having a daughter while going through cancer, and it's what prompted me to create the Little Green Monster Project. I needed to have resources that I could share with her. I also needed to make cancer mean something outside of myself. So I wanted it to be an opportunity to help others. And in doing so, the act of helping others would help me and my daughter. So the Little Green Monster is all about all these emotions that you're creating on your wheel. And what he does, and what I found imagination and creativity did for me and my daughter, was it allowed us to make those difficult moments joyous. Like, how can you hold both at once? My sister-in-law had spinal fusion and has lost 4 babies. And she's the one that told me, when I told her I was struggling with having all these emotions, she said, "Sharon, it's okay. There's room for all of it." And I was like, wait a minute, I hadn't really conceptualized it that way, and that's when that poem came about, and that's when the Little Green Monster happened. So I wanted to have it be more of a meditation of what happens when you go through the experience and how joy and imagination can make that possible. So this is for Jillian. Where did she go? The cool, crisp breeze spun her curls as she rode in the sun into smiles of clouds. She had energy for days. Bent legs stretching, she looked at the hair on her toes. She waved her wings and laughed. Energy for days. Where did she go? Your new mommy, old mommy, my 11-year-old tells me. Bruised breast, stitched and swollen, unsettled, unfamiliar exhaustion. I ache for days. Where did she go? I'm right here. My daughter looks in my eyes, smooshes my lips with a kiss, full of smiling clouds and waving wings. Old mommy, new mommy. We know what's true. So I'm going to read to you The Little Green Monster. And what I'd like you to do is, actually, before I do, I just wanted to spend a moment where you share your feeling wheels with each other. So if you could take a moment to, again, talk to each other about emotions you picked, what you discovered as you drew or as you listened to the poetry, and then we'll look at the Little Green Monster together. I just want to show you my daughter before I moved on. But this is us at Holy, and how can you be sad all the time when you look at that face, right? One thing that I liked doing was taking photos of my experience. I don't know, maybe, I mean, I'm pre-selfie generation, but boy, I love that camera. So that could be another thing. If somebody really likes their camera, taking pictures, documenting their journey through cancer, it became very empowering to me, and this is my cancer bingo. At this point, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Little Green Monster and then read the story to you and tell you a little bit about what I do. So the Little Green Monster Project, I founded after writing the book. You're welcome to take the copy of your book and put it in front of you as I talked about it. So there's a stack of them on each table. So the Little Green Monster Project is funded out of a grant from the Handle Sunrise Foundation, and I do book donations to families directly, as well as to cancer support organizations, schools, libraries, hospitals, counselors, and any other place that I can possibly access to help families have literature to talk about cancer. And I also donate little monster friend duffels. So I work with volunteers. And again, these are grant funded. So the kids get a book inside their duffel, and then the volunteers hand make their own little monsters that the kids get. And the kids get to stuff them, sort of like Build-A-Bear, and put a heart inside. And then we also have a piece of paper where they can put the names of people they would like to give magic to when they hug their little green monster. So this is also available, again, if you're in your settings, if you have families with children, please contact me so that I can get duffels to your kiddos. So this is what's grown over the last year, and the need far outweighs the funding, and so I do a lot of it in my own time and with my own savings because I know that it's what I was meant to do. So I started out during chemo, there I am with the little monster, with my puppet. Oh, he wanted to say hi. Hi. Wow. I don't know about this. Usually your audiences are much smaller, Sharon. I know, I'm really sorry. You didn't even prep me. I know, I just figured you'd be okay. You were sleeping, I woke you up, now you're here. Wow. Hi, everybody, I'm the little green monster. Nice to meet you. Yeah, I'm so glad you're with me. Thanks, I like coming with you too. Really liked coming to chemo with you. Yeah, I like that too. Do you remember when I took your picture and you got a bracelet and you had a pretend infusion? Oh yeah, it was a little scary, but you know what? The best part was that I got to pretend so that Jillian would know what was happening to Mommy. I know, right? Wasn't that great? Yeah, plus she can't come into the infusion center, so she doesn't know, and she was like creating a lot of really wild stories about what was in there, and I had to help her and make her know that it really wasn't as scary as she thought it was. I know, I really appreciate your help, because you know, you're made out of fabric and she's a kid and she can't go in there, right? Yeah, that's right. And look, there you are up on the screen. What? I'm famous? Yeah, moment of fame, take a picture, yeah. Okay, well, thank you for visiting, and we'll see you soon, okay, buddy? Thanks, this really wore me out. I'm gonna go rest again. Okay, thanks, we'll see you soon. So I made this during chemo too. This is my good friend. So when we go to do workshops and book readings, I bring him with me and he talks to the kids, and the kids get to hug him and hold him, and he talks about what he saw in the infusion center, or he'll talk about what a child's family is going through. And then we also do talking about emotions. So you'll see at the back of the book there are lots of expressions the little green monster does, and so we make those facial expressions. And I'm so honored to also tell you that my first creative arts workshop series was done in St. Jude with Denise Yoshihara. And she took a chance on me and allowed me to pivot from my work in education into health and wellness, and it's been delightful, and we'll be doing another series in October. So if you're interested in art workshops, that's another piece of the project, and this little guy likes to come along sometimes. So I wanted to read the story to you, and then we'll finish up with debriefing on your artworks. So the top left is one of the clay creatures. So in the creative arts workshops, we make clay monsters. We do watercolor painting like you've done. We've also do the mural, a group mural, where we look at a book and take out empowering sayings from a collaborative mural book called Maybe Something Beautiful. And then I also have some kids who've received duffels. CJ in the bottom left was our first little kiddo who received, and he has retinoblastoma. And he and his mother were moving in between homeless shelters, including one in Minneapolis. And so she found me on the web, and I was able to send her something before she moved on to another shelter. And so he was able to get his little monster named Gurr, who loves spaghetti sauce. And I'm thankful that we were able to make a strong monster who could withstand the wash. So spaghetti sauce did come out of the monster. And then, and then we have another kiddo who's doing some emotion shape work over in the corner on the right. So I'm going to read to you The Little Green Monster. There once was a little green monster who used magic to help people when they became very sick. The little green monster wrapped a special spell around people with cancer. He knew that sometimes life could be hard. So the little green monster brought us under his wing and carried us through starry skies and sweet dreams. His song helped us face our fears. We loved the little green monster so much, especially his silly tricks and dances, and the magic that sprang from his clawed feet. He watched me heal with doctors, equipment, and medicine that changed my body. The little green monster understands all our feelings. He helps us surf our sadness and land safely on the beach, where the waves tickle our toes and imaginations. We smile and laugh together. We have good days. Many, many, many good days, all with the help of the little green monster. So some of the things that parents have told me are the Little Monster Support Group has made a big difference with my kids. I can talk to them and use the words in the book. They come to me with questions. I feel relieved knowing they're coming and receiving support. Another parent came up to me after a book reading and said, "My child had cancer when she was very young. We haven't talked to her much about it. We didn't know what to say. I think your book is a good place to start." And some of the things the kids have said. The book helped me learn about healthy cells and cancer cells. One of the things in your folder is a packet of family activities that you can use with the book. And one of the things in that packet is kind of like an I Spy hunt throughout the book that also gives some suggestions of activities that you can do as a family. So one of the I Spy hunts is about looking for the healthy cells and cancer cells poster in one of the doctor scenes. And then there's also healthy cells on the sandcastle. So having the kids go through and look for those, and then we can compare and contrast what a healthy cell looks like and what a cancer cell looks like and why and how they're different. Another child was looking at the faces, the monster faces in the back of the book and said, "Which face do you want to make? Let's make a silly one." And then they all started making faces. One of the kids during the clay monster workshop showed me his monster, and he said, "My monster has slashes and gashes. It's ripped up. It's been through a lot to be here, but it's still here." To me, that's like, that encompasses, it reflects the very nature of going through the cancer journey. We get slashes and gashes, we get ripped up, and we've been through a lot, but we're here each time we show up for infusion, each surgery, each social work call, each time we bring our kid or child to a support group, or we come to support group, or every time we're able to get up to use the restroom or feed ourselves some food, we're showing up, we're still here. And then there's hope involved in that, because we know that we're surrounded by people who are helping us. And that's the last quote I wanted to share with you that came from one of the kiddos in our support group with Denise. She got to do her monster. It's not this kiddo, but she got to do her monster, and she was stuffing it, and we sewed it up at the end, and she said, "I will give my monster 10,000 hugs to help my mommy. Will you hug my monster and help my mommy too?" And think about that. Remember that?
Yes.
And think about what that does. So I know there's a session on Reiki. There's a power of touch. And there's a power of the human exchange of energy in healing. So when she offered her monster, it was like, my monster can store hugs for my mommy. My monster can store love. And then I'm going to bring it home. So I'm bringing home your love to my mom. And it doesn't have to be the monster, it can be anything, but it's that exchange, it's that human touch, it's what you all do so well, it's the art of nursing that you all do so well, that's about giving that love and passing it forward so that then the child or the other patient, the adult, can bring it home and keep it stored for when they really, really need it. And that's how I got to where I am today, and I thank each of you for the work that you do with your patients and helping with the art of healing. And I hope that you might bring some of this back with you to do with some of your patients. Thank you.